Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka. I want to thank you for checking out my video. I have begun an ear training series, and this is stage 2. Now, in truth, I've probably skipped over a few things from stage 1 because at the end of stage 1 I mentioned that what you want to do is practice with the resource that I'm going to talk about in a second so that you get all the notes of the major scale. And in this video, I am going to start from having all of the notes of the major scale in place, because part of training our ears is to be able to hear the types of things that we want to add into our music that may be part of the diatonic scale, or in other words, part of the key that we're in, or that might not be in that key. And training ourselves to hear those things and know what they are and understand them makes it that much faster to get them into the music that we're making. And I'm specifically thinking a lot about riffing and improvisations here. A lot of folks ask about riffing and getting blues notes and things like that in there. Hearing them first will help immensely. So if you haven't already checked out stage 1, there's a link in the corner. Have a listen, have a watch of that, get some practice in. I am going to be referencing musictheory.net in this video as well. I would highly recommend that you support them financially if you are capable of doing so. They provide a fantastic resource. I have no affiliations with them. I just think that it's an amazing website, an amazing resource, and a valuable app to get if you need that kind of a thing and if you can afford to do so. I did write them to ask for permission. They have a FAQ on their website that says, share our stuff all over the place. We're cool with that. But they said they can't always email back. They never got back to me about permission. So I hope that this is all right. But I do want to give a shout out and just say, if you can afford to financially support them, I would highly recommend you do so, because I think they're doing a fantastic service. So with all that said and done, let's have a look at the website. I've got it set up to kind of expedite things here, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to suggest you start with your next stage of practice. What we have here is the ear training setup, and this is recognizing notes of the scale. Now you can set this up. I'm going to show you what I did to set this up. Right now I have it set up for C major. I kind of wish these boxes would organize themselves into like the diatonic scale, like that it would know that you were doing C major and then set it up so that they were in the appropriate order. But you know, that might be asking for a bit much for a free resource. Anyway, over here is where you can customize it. Notes is where you'll be able to select the notes of the scale, and again I have it in C diatonic. The reference note is on, and the pitch I've asked for as a reference is C because we're in the key of C. You'll want to set that, generally speaking, for the tonic of the key that you're in. And I've chosen modern piano as my note. I have limited the range, the overall range of notes somewhat. Now, it's a little bit wider than in the first video because I wanted to give it an opportunity to go a little bit further afield, and I wanted a few octaves of the accidental that we're going to incorporate. But you can really set that for as narrow or as wide as you want. Now, set it too narrow and you won't get very many notes at all. Setting it too wide just means that they'll be all over the place, and at some point that'll be appropriate. Note names, letters, and accidental names, this becomes pertinent later on, but for right now, to make the most of this particular practice, you should be at the stage where you play your reference note, bum, 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 ba, ba, ba. You can identify that as a key, sing along, and do a cadence. I just kind of sang myself a little cadence, and having done so, ba, ba, ba. You can easily find do by singing. Eventually you won't have to sing that out loud, but I find it to be a very, very helpful practice in ear training. So I sang down 3 notes, so we know that's mi, re, do, it's E. It's going to immediately play another note, You might recognize that as re, but if not, re, do, you can find it like that. And every time you click it, it gives you another one. That's fa, that's ti, or you might know that as si as well. And of course, it landed us back at do, which is cool. And I'm always tempted to keep going, but I'm going to stop here for a second because I want to talk to you about accidentals, or additional notes that we can add into the key that we are doing. These are sometimes called blue notes. They are adjustments, if you will, or additional resources for your expressivity in your music. Now, we could choose any of the other notes that are not diatonic to C major. So we could do C sharp or D flat. We could do B flat, A sharp, B flat, a flatted seventh. I'm going to select D sharp or E flat. This is the minor third. And I am going to ask that the accidental names be flats only so that it represents it as E flat. Sometimes this works out okay. It works out okay in this case. Sometimes it's better to use both sharps and flats so that you can read it appropriately. But in this case, it's going to represent it as E flat, and that works rather nicely because diatonic to C, that is the flatted third. This is often the blue tone that you get in a lot of improvisations. That flatted third kind of grinds against the major third, and it gives it this bluesy kind of flavor. And learning to hear it and recognize it while staying in your diatonic key is extremely helpful. So what we do next is we come back out, and we're going to wait for it basically to give us that E flat. So here, that's T, coming back to do, T, so, Now, here we get our flatted third. Now the trick is we want to hear it, but remain diatonic to C. So what I'm going to suggest you start with is finding that flatted third, ba, ba, ba. Check yourself against the reference pitch. Ba, 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 mi, bum, bum, mi, re, do, me, re, do. We want to stay in the key of C. I'm kind of showing you a little bit of one of my challenges, which is that when I get these non-diatonic notes, I tend to want to shift my sense of tonality to accommodate them. This is not helpful if we want to stay in the key, so we have to keep on referencing back to our tonic. Okay, and so. Now, if we don't know what that is, then what we have to do is come back to our reference tone. Ba bum ba ba bum bum ba bum bum ba. And that question note then clearly becomes fa again. And here we're back to do. Here we've been given that flatted third again. Ba bum ba. And so on and so forth. It becomes a practice so that we can understand the context that we are in, C major, and the non-diatonic note, in this case E flat, that has been introduced. Now, I chose E flat because I suspected that was a very popular note to begin with, that many would like to see that one incorporated. You could just as easily start with a flatted seventh if that comes up in the genre of music that you are practicing, or you could do an augmented fourth, which is a really cool kind of different addition to the diatonic scale. In any of these cases, what you want to do is find the next nearest note to gravitate towards. So for the flatted third, I sang down to the tonic. For the augmented fourth, I would suggest you go up to the fifth to ground yourself back into your key. With the flatted 7th, I would probably suggest you do the very same thing. With the flatted 7th, I would suggest you sing through T. So instead of just getting ba, 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 go through that major 7 to ground yourself back in your diatonic key. And as you get better and better at this, you won't have to do that. You'll start to hear these as accidentals to the key that you're in. I hope this helps. If you've got questions, please drop them in the comments and let me know what you're thinking. If you'd like to see me do one of these videos with a different accidental or something to that effect, please let me know that too. Thank you as always. I really appreciate you being here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you'll choose to do so now. And if you'd like to support this channel, Patreon is the place to go. There's lots of ways that you can support the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Take really good care of your voices, your ear training, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.